Hi Kulenga, here I am with your animation, here with a quick video feedback. It's looking really good. All the beginning is looking really nice. I noticed you said at the end you didn't really like it. So yeah, let's have a look at it. Jessica, I wrote some notes. Okay, from the beginning, just I wanted to point out a couple of things that I'm seeing now. Here, the tail doesn't move as fluidly as maybe I would like to. For example, okay, first you have the tail anticipating back, then here see how they move quite together, both forward. In this scenario, probably I would probably prefer to keep the tail more still. All this movement I would try to keep it more subtle, not because if you move it 2 frames to the right, then it moves to the left. It feels maybe too abrupt, but maybe it's just a personal choice. But yeah, I wouldn't rotate it that much to the right at the beginning as anticipation. Then, as he starts to swing the tail, see how here, nice, the tip of the tail more or less stays in the same place. He's pushing the tail down, but here he's only pushing the tail down. He's not pushing the tail anymore to the left. See how here feels like the inertia is going this way, and then the inertia is going only down, and then the inertia is going this way again. So this frame, if you're doing this, then in here I would like to see the tail somewhere like this, so that we can see that the whole tail is creating. You can have a bit of drag in the tip, that's fine, but the body of the tail, I would like to see it being pushed. So this way, great. See, then here, see how seems that the tail kind of hits an invisible floor and then breaks the invisible floor. So as well here, I know it's tricky because the body's jumping and all that, but here I would actually keep moving the tail slightly down so that the movement of the tail keeps moving down. So boom, boom, boom. So it doesn't stop in an invisible floor. Okay, all that. Then here you can see how then the body has moved up, then the tail is following the inertia, but see how now the tail moves with the body down. I would like to see the overlap on the tail. So keep the tail moving up when the body starts moving down. So you have the body moving down and the tail having the residual motion, the residual inertia moving up. So here the body starts to drag the tail down. See how here as well seems like it stops. Maybe this frame move it a bit slightly up, then this frame keep it moving up. I draw something here like something like this, so we can see the tail having that easing to the up pose instead of because right now it's just finishing the movement, and it's not moving up. So it's just swinging and then just dragging down like that. And I would like to see the swing, and then the recoil back. So having that would be more fluid. Then see, I draw something like this here. Then here, see how the tail starts to squash together, and I would like to keep seeing it, just the movement, the nice banana shape tail, kind of like that. Maybe not that much, maybe a bit more like you have it, a bit more of a drag. And then you have the, maybe not as much, but a bit more of a curved pose. Not that much. Something like that, maybe. I'm looking at the tail right now and trying to match it so that it flows, and it also keeps the maybe I exaggerated it too much. Something like this. So just a bit more, just a bit more than you have it here. And then boom, you see this grade, so something like that. And then okay, the overlap starts to happen. Then here, normally in this case, I will try to keep the tail, the tip of the tail closer to where it was before, so it feels more of a whip-like motion, like so the inertia starts here, but the tail, the first frame of the swing, the tail, kind of the first couple of frames, the tail stays around the same place. So I would keep the tip of the tail like this, so it doesn't move as much. So we see all the inertia being pushed from here. Then okay, I will talk about the body later on. Then okay, this is great. See, tracking the tail, creating that nice drag. But if you move it here, maybe you can actually have it more like this, so you don't have to rotate it as much. So a bit more like this. See, the tail is here. Then this one actually is more like this. It's more closer to what you have. The main thing here that actually is quite similar to what you have. The main thing that I wanted to point out here is see how this, for example, this is quite a big movement. So this could feel like a pop. This. So maybe if you have this here, this frame, have it something more in between this. So if you have this here, then this one maybe is already more into the other pose. So you can already, so you just have the tip of the tail dragging, but you have much more of a curve here, and just the tip of the tail. See what I mean? And this not as much. So this something, see, yeah, more or less like you have it here. Then I would like to keep seeing also the movement up. So for example, here you can see how the base of the tail keeps moving up. Well, that's another important part, right? So we want to see the base of the tail of creating that overlap, right? So pushing a bit more from the base, then you have this, and then you can see how the base moves, and then it moves together. So it moves up, the whole tail moves up, and then as it reaches this pose, then the base starts to move down and the rest of the tail settles to the right. But you actually want to create some overlap. So for example, around here I would already start to move this part down, so that the last frames where this part is settling into the pose, this part is already getting into the final pose. So it's not happening, it's not moving the tail all together and then both parts at the same time settle into the final pose, but create that overlap where this part is already moving down, this part is finishing the circle of this inertia, and then so I will probably move a bit more this frame up. So because you can see here how I draw this here, so actually you want this to be even more, right? So we keep that part closer to the body, always moving. If you're moving it in one direction, keep it moving, then keeping it moving. You can add a bit of drag, bending the tail. See what I did here? Maybe this one is not as exaggerated as I draw. See, something like this. Where this part leads the action, keeps leading the action, and from this we have a very banana shape, and then from here onwards you can start to see how this part starts to go down and this part keeps moving to the right until this pose. So you are using this inertia as one movement, and in the middle this settles, because right now it's all moving together, then stops, and then the final movement where it gets to the final pose. But you want to get it in one transition, overlapping. I hope I explained myself. If you didn't get it, just let me know. I hope I did. And then also another thing is the overlap. So this is great. This squash, squash, squash. But then here I feel it's too much. Boom! It stretches a bit too much here. Here is too much, I feel. And then stretch. See? It feels like boom! It stretches too sudden. And the impact is the squash is the biggest part. Actually, because if you want to exaggerate it, if this is the stretch, this one you could have it even a bit more squashed than the original shape, so you can really sell the impact. And then you have the settle into the final squash pose. Then you start the recoil, and then probably this one you get to the extreme of the stretch. This one would be the extreme, but this one just be a little bit. Maybe this one is on the original shape. This one is the original shape. Then this one is a bit of a stretch, almost, maybe almost to the final pose, and then you have the easing to the final pose. So something like that. So you still have the arc, but it's not that exaggerated because the stretch is too much right now. It just pops too sudden here. And maybe actually another thing, maybe I wouldn't stretch it up that much. Maybe I would actually even reduce it so that it doesn't stretch that much. I mean, you can try it both ways, but maybe it could be a bit too much, but I don't know. Just check it out. The way I draw it. Anyways, hope it helps. Yeah, hope was helpful and really well done. So until the next time.